was 10 years old when my life changed forever. It was a sunny afternoon, and I was playing with my little brother in the courtyard of our small house. I didn't know then that it would be the last normal day of my childhood. My mother called me into the house. She sounded urgent, her voice sharper than usual. "Put on your best dress," she said, her tone cold. I asked her why, but she didn't answer. She just looked at me with those tired, distant eyes. An hour later, a man arrived. He was tall and dressed in expensive clothes. His eyes scanned me like I was an object on display. I didn't understand why he was there, or why my mother kept whispering to him in the corner of the room. I clutched my dress nervously, feeling out of place. That evening, my mother told me I would be leaving with the man. "He'll take good care of you," she said, avoiding my eyes. I was confused. "Why? Where are we going?" She hesitated, then said something that sent chills down my spine. "He's going to give us money so we can have a better life. You'll be fine, Zara." I didn't want to go. I clung to her, crying, begging her to let me stay. But she pushed me away, her face hard and emotionless. "Don't make this harder than it already is," she snapped. The man grabbed my arm and pulled me toward the door. I screamed for my mother, but she didn't move. She just stood there, her arms crossed, as if she couldn't bear to look at me. The car ride was long and silent. I sat in the back seat, tears streaming down my face. The man didn't say a word. When we arrived at his house, I realized it wasn't a home. It was a prison. The days that followed were a blur of fear and confusion. The man controlled everything. I wasn't allowed to leave, and I wasn't allowed to ask questions. He treated me like a possession, something he owned. I kept thinking about my mother. How could she do this to me? Why did she choose money over me? Years passed and I grew older. I learned how to survive in that house. I learned to obey, to stay quiet, to suppress my anger and sadness. But deep inside, I held on to one hope, that one day I would find my freedom. One night, while the man was away, I found an old phone hidden in a drawer. My hands trembled as I dialed the only number I could remember. My mother's. She answered on the third ring. Her voice was calm, almost too calm. "Zara?" she said, as if she wasn't surprised to hear from me. "Why did you do it?" I asked, my voice breaking. "Why did you sell me?" There was a long pause. Then she said something I'll never forget. "I did it for your brother," she said. "We needed the money to save his life. He was sick, and I had no other choice." Her words hit me like a punch to the chest. I didn't know what to say. Part of me wanted to scream at her, to tell her she had no right to make that choice. But another part of me, a small, quiet part, understood. I hung up the phone without saying goodbye. It took me years to escape that house. I won't go into the details, but one day, I finally broke free. I returned to my village, hoping to find answers, closure, something. But when I saw my mother, I realized I didn't need them anymore. She looked older, frailer. She reached out to touch my face, but I stepped back. "I'm sorry," she whispered, tears in her eyes. I didn't know what else to do. I nodded but said nothing. Some wounds don't heal with words. I left the village that day, carrying the weight of my past, but also the strength of my survival. My mother's choice shaped my life in ways I'll never fully understand. But one thing is certain, I will never let anyone take away my freedom again, and I will never let my pain define who I am.